Hi there, welcome to today's edition of Jamaica Magazine. I am Theodore Henry. Coming up on the pages, improving quarry management for economic growth. Later, see how computerization of the Island Traffic Authority's vehicle management system is improving service delivery. Plus, safety precautions for consumers using the internet. Sit back and relax for these and more as we turn the pages of Jamaica Magazine.
Nutritious food, succulent dishes, superior workmanship, and excellent service. Jamaica is on the go. Let's grow what we eat and eat what we grow. Let's harness the indomitable spirit of our most valued resource, our people. Let's support our local businesses. After all, buying Jamaican means building Jamaica.
The use of the latest technology and knowledge of best practices in mines and quarry operations could bring about greater efficiency in production and increased returns for mining businesses and the Jamaican economy. The government and its international partners are facilitating the information sharing that's required to achieve this. Take a look. Jamaica is endowed with many large deposits of high-purity limestone that, if developed, can be marketed for the processing of high-value products. The potential for significant earnings from limestone lies in its varied uses, such as in the production of cement, paper, paints, chemicals, animal feed, soap, toothpaste, and for pharmaceuticals. Focus on large rock bodies suitable for producing skid-resistant aggregates for transportation-wearing surfaces is also an area of significant economic interest. Current rejuvenation and expansion in the mining and construction sectors, including the use of sand from hard rocks, are commanding new opportunities.
The Ministry of Transport and Mining is particularly happy that this event is occurring. It therefore means that given the use of blasting and explosives in these two sectors, there will be a serious amount of work for persons who are going to be familiar with and trained in the blasting technologies.
Jamaica was one of 6 countries selected in August 2014 to participate in the ACP EU Development Minerals Program, of which the capacity building training is a significant component. This program is an initiative of the African, Caribbean, and Pacific ACP Group of States, financed by the European Union, and is being implemented by the United Nations Development Program, UNDP, with the Ministry of Transport and Mining's Mines and Geology Division as the national partner. Through a grant of €750,000, the capacity building work has taken off with industry stakeholders, civil society, private sector operators, blasters, and public sector representatives being provided with training in best practices in health and safety, environmental stewardship, mine management, and gender issues. It's all part of an overall effort to have development of neglected minerals play a more integral role in sustainable development, generating more local jobs and reducing poverty.
The program must be commended because of its focus, one that seeks to raise the profile and improve the management, particularly in what they call development minerals sector. We know that these minerals have played and continue to play a very important role in terms of development, whether roads, highways. We know that we are in a knowledge economy, and knowledge is what basically drives economies. So this training program is very timely, any training program. The importance of improving your own efficiency, your competitiveness cannot be overemphasized. Thank the ACP, EU particular funders for your total and committed support to this program.
The training contributes to disseminating innovative know-how and supports the implementation of the Paris Agreement and its commitment to alternative clean technology.
When we are talking about blasting, we know that there are some risks. This learning will be important for influencing changing within the national frameworks. Because of lack of attention to the sector, often the ordinary practices face a number of environmental, social, and economic challenges. It is therefore important to build capacity by training and offering support to the main stakeholders in the sector. Like many Jamaicans, we believe that education and skills training are essential tools for transforming lives. This is why we are fully engaged in supporting key initiatives aimed at advancing access to education and building people's capacity to create or find employment opportunities to improve their quality of life.
The training covers theory as well as practical demonstrations of quarry blasting techniques and mining and other quarry management methodologies.
We are trying to let them have an understanding of blasting, quarry design, and how to more efficiently use the explosive to get the production that is desired. Basically, we are trying to impart best practice.
We basically mine 5 different raw materials for the cement manufacture process. Limestone, which is 80% of the materials used. Basically, we also drill and blast 80% of that material. So this program is very, very beneficial to us, as I'm expected to be exposed to all the best practices in drilling and blasting. I'll be better able to manage my contractors who are also here.
It will be a boost for the industry, considering we have been having train-the-trainer programs where we train individuals that will go back into the quarries, into the industry to train others. So before long we'll have a well-trained unit.
The ACP EU UNDP Development Minerals Program on Training, a partnership with Mines and Geology Division, Ministry of Transport and Mining, empowering people to achieve sustainable development.
Each time you're not paying full attention to the road environment, the greater your chances of getting in a crash like that. Plan routes to avoid focusing on GPS systems, prevent children from roaming in motor vehicles, turn down the volume of car stereo systems, pull off the roadway if you have to use mobile devices, do not read, watch television or eat while driving, avoid multitasking, and keep conversations with other passengers to a minimum. Whether you walk, ride or drive, avoid potentially fatal distractions.
As part of government's public sector modernization thrust, operations at the Island Traffic Authority are being computerized. Through its new high-tech vehicle management system, the authority is improving efficiency in service delivery and reducing revenue loss.
As part of the Public Sector Modernization Program, the Island Traffic Authority (ITA) has introduced a modern vehicle management system. This is to help the authority better administer provisions of the Road Traffic Act and ensure high standards of safety on Jamaica's roadways. The transformation is enabling the ITA to reduce manual business processes and remove a large degree of paper-based data collection. Since January 2015, the system has been facilitating electronic issuing of motor vehicle fitness certificates, starting at the ITA's Swallowfield depot.
That process has been running smoothly now. We have had a number of teething pains, as with the introduction of any new system, it comes with issues. Happily, we have sorted those out and we are going good.
The system is interconnected with agencies such as Tax Administration Jamaica and Customs.
It's a joined-up approach, and our data and everything interacts directly. The data we get is coming from Tax Admin and Customs. Plus, we need to be able to verify that the receipts are accurate.
This interconnection is allowing the ITA to accept online payments for its services.
What that will allow us to do is for you to make payment using your cell phone. You can pay from your office or any computer anywhere, online payment.
Island Traffic Authority is also placing kiosks inside its examination depots for customers to make payments using a credit card or Visa check card.
It makes the whole process simpler and easier. And this is where we're heading in this right direction. Until the system came on board, we actually did everything paper-based manually. This system, once fully implemented across the island, will eliminate that. It will also cut down on the issue of cloning and bogus registration. With this system, it eliminates that loophole that has been with us for far too long.
The computerized Island Traffic Authority Vehicle Management System is built on a software application designed to technologically capture all motor vehicle and driver's license information. Each motor vehicle must be taken to the examination depot for fitness testing. A mobile app is used by certifying officers to capture fitness information, display pictures of the vehicle being tested, use and store GPS coordinates of the vehicles, and to upload and update motor vehicle fitness in real time. There is automatic issuing and printing of fitness certificates for the requisite period. It also allows for automatic verification of fitness received from Tax Administration Jamaica and automatically updates fitness information on TAJ's system. And as part of the security features, the app creates audit trails for each individual using the system. The vehicle management system generates fitness reports per vehicle type, per certifying officer or inspector, as well as per depot. Part of the system also provides for a driver's license feature, which will administer computerized driver's license exams and capture candidates' photos. Computerized scores and exam results are also published in real time. Driver's license information is also uploaded and updated both internally at the ITA and externally at Tax Administration Jamaica. The computerized vehicle management system also generates information such as total passes and failures for driver's licenses, as well as driver's license reports done by each certifying officer. With this system, the authority and law enforcers now have easy access to accurate motor vehicle information and data.
That second phase, we have put it on hold for the time being, because the third phase should be the driver's license phase, where we computerize all aspects of the driver's license.
The new ITA vehicle management system is helping to secure government revenue and ensuring more compliant vehicles on the nation's roadways.
The use of the internet can conveniently serve many purposes, but users must be wary, as there can be serious problems caused by those with devious intentions. There are some important safety precautions persons will need to take when using the internet to avoid the various pitfalls. Learn more in our next feature.
Choose strong passwords. A lot of us reuse our password and we use easy what we call soft passwords. You know, the name of your child, the date of birth. We encourage consumers to choose passwords that are complex, include characters, numbers, and symbols in your password, and no less than 8 characters. The other precaution is to control access to your machine. That includes don't leave your device open on the table. So your smartphone or your computer, lock the screen. Very important, because somebody can easily access your data that way. The other precaution is to protect your sensitive data. So identity theft is real. And it's pretty easy for an actor with criminal intent to get your private to create an identity of you. So they can go on your Facebook page or your LinkedIn or any social media site and grab your information, your name and other information, and create a profile of you in a different scenario. In some cases, they can actually go in other jurisdictions, they can use a social security number and actually apply for bank accounts and other services, financial services. So identity theft is real and it affects us all. So the advice is to try and limit the amount of information you put out there in social media. Social media is important. It keeps you in touch with friends and family you haven't seen for years, and you have a big geographical distance between them, but it also exposes you. So keep your private information offline. In regards to online shopping, utilize the services of a legitimate and well-known and well-established website. Some of these more well-established websites may not necessarily carry the product or the service that you're looking for, but you do have websites out there that they may be running a legitimate organization, but their security precautions that they take in their back-end system is not sufficient. It not necessarily means that you can't shop with them, but or they might not deliver your product, but the level of trust that you have in them might not necessarily be what it should be. But online shopping, there's a service called the Better Business Bureau, which a lot of these websites utilize now. And what they do is the Better Business Bureau will evaluate the website and organization for the level of legitimacy, the care that they take in protecting shoppers' data, and they will give them a rating. Their rating system is also based on the number of complaints that consumers logged with the Better Business Bureau. So so websites that are highly rated by the Better Business Bureau will have a tag on them, BBB. You may have seen that before. So that's a good way of evaluating a particular website if you choose to shop with them. Protect your credit card information, especially online. Don't just plug it in any website. And remember to log out of websites after you finish using them.
In the past, we would simply, go into a bank and we would sign mountains of documents to purchase a house or even a car. Now there are opportunities for you to use digital signatures where you can do these transactions online, which now makes it even more challenging to police, because how do we know that you are the actual individual online that is adding a signature to a particular contract or an agreement? So it is very important for consumers to understand and to have a better education on protecting ourselves in these regards.
And now for some of the top stories in our news this week.
Hi there, I'm Simone Wolf with your JIS News of the Week. Both of the country's major economic tracking agencies this week reported that Jamaica recorded growth in the range of 1% to 2% in the last quarter.
This follows on real GDP growth of 0.8% recorded in the previous quarter and indicates a continuation of a recovery from the effects of heavy rainfall and flooding in the first half of the year, which adversely impacted production in several industries.
Looking ahead, the central bank is forecasting that real GDP will expand within the range of 2% to 3% for the 2018-2019 financial year, with further strengthening projected over the medium term. The bank is also forecasting that inflation will remain relatively stable over the next 4 quarters.
The most recent information from Statin indicates that headline inflation at January 2018 was 4.8%. Over the course of the next year, the bank expects inflation to continue to track around the lower half of the 4% to 6% target before rising to around 5%.
Meanwhile, the Jamaican dollar improved in value against the U.S. currency in the October to December 2017 quarter, representing a 3.8% appreciation relative to the previous period.
The recent behavior of the market highlights that it is experiencing more two-way movements, and we expect this behavior to continue. The new reality favors investors and savers who take a more balanced approach to the acquisition of foreign exchange and foreign currency denominated investments. Two-way movements in the exchange rate also mean that the pass-through from depreciation to prices is more and more muted.
Government will be spending an estimated $11 billion on several projects to better equip and accommodate members of the security forces in the 2018-2019 fiscal year. It includes $2.5 billion to purchase motor vehicles and bikes and $3.8 billion for the repayment of 2 surveillance aircraft for the JDF. Meanwhile, government has set aside money in the 2018-2019 estimates of expenditure to repair infrastructure damage caused by heavy rains and floods. Another contingency fund of $794.5 million is also budgeted to support new projects that are approved under the Public Investment Management System. The Ministry of Industry, Commerce, Agriculture and Fisheries will be embarking on an aggressive legislative agenda this year to strengthen work being carried out in the various productive sectors.
To support its strategic priorities to ensure food security, sustainable use of agricultural land and fisheries resources, and facilitate an enabling local business environment.
The Jamaica Dairy Development Board is projecting a 15% increase in local milk production this year, building on a 10% increase in 2017.
Our goal of achieving 20 million liters of milk by the year 2020 is on track, and we believe by 2019, based on the projections in this industry, we will achieve that target.
The Dairy Board's chairman says a series of initiatives will be rolled out to support this growth. In the meantime, dairy farmers from Clarendon, St. Elizabeth and St. Thomas have received approximately $5 million worth of fertilizer and attendant supplies to help improve production. The donation represents collaboration among the Jamaica Dairy Development Board, Newport for Sand Jamaica Limited and Nutrimix. And finally, Prime Minister Andrew Holness is encouraging recording and performing artists to use their music to promote peace and love in the society. Mr. Holness was speaking at a reggae reception held at Jamaica House on Tuesday.
Jamaica is going through a particularly difficult time with crime and violence. But this is not the nature or the culture of our people. And so tonight, I call upon the cultural icons and ambassadors who use music as a means of edifying the people, as a means of uplifting the people, that we need to do more with our music to get our young men and women to be less violent, to be less willing to participate in criminal activity.
And those were some of the stories making news this week. I'm Simone Wolf.
One of the great movers and shakers of Jamaica's development. A hero in the eyes of a nation, he worked hard to improve and protect from many injustices within his time. Alexander Bustamante knew what was required to improve the plight of the common man and tried to make that happen.
What we need in this island is not more men, but more men with courage, with the spirit of fighting for justice for all, and more so for the less fortunate, independent men who will sacrifice their own interests for their unfortunate sisters and brothers.
His heroic life journey began in the small rural district of Blenheim in Hanover. Here, in this small cottage nestled in the cool hills, the son of Robert and Mary Clark was born. It was February 24, 1884. He was named William Alexander Clark. Young Alexander was among other young men who were forced to seek employment abroad when jobs in Jamaica proved scarce. He had changed his surname from Clark to Bustamante by the time he returned to Jamaica in 1933. It was after starting a money-lending business in Jamaica that he became fully aware of the harsh reality of poverty faced by most Jamaicans. Bustamante chose to preoccupy himself with improving the prevailing conditions. He began with writing numerous letters to the Daily Gleaner and occasionally to British papers as a means of exposing the extremely bad social and economic conditions of the masses. By the time he was near his 50th year, Bustamante's advocacy had evolved, with him becoming an active mediator in workers' strikes. Something new was happening in Jamaica, in which he would play a central role. The poor and oppressed had passed the stage where they could be bullied into submission by the guns and bayonets of the then colonial forces. Bustamante's voice grew loud in support of the workers' struggles and in contempt of the governing authority. His speeches, mediating and organizing activities slowly replaced the people's disorganized resentment to the oppressive forces of the colonial government with organized resistance. The charismatic, influential speaker drew large crowds at union rallies and organized and supported numerous strikes. In May 1938, he founded the Bustamante Industrial Trade Union, BITU. He had grown into a strong political figure and began working with his cousin Norman Manley and others to form a new political movement, the People's National Party, PNP. At the same time, his clashes with the authorities continued, and on September 8, 1940, Bustamante was detained at Up Park Camp for the alleged violation of the Defense of the Realm Act. He was released in 1942 and soon after successfully formed his own political body in the form of the Jamaica Labour Party in 1943. The next year, universal adult suffrage was instituted, allowing all Jamaicans the right to vote. In the December 1944 general election that followed, Bustamante's JLP won the majority of the 32 seats in the House of Representatives. At his second victory at the polls in 1949, Bustamante became the unofficial government leader as Minister for Communication until the position of Chief Minister was created in 1953. In late 1953, Bustamante was honored by Britain's Queen with the title Knight Bachelor and was addressed Sir Bustamante. He was named Jamaica's first Prime Minister when the country gained independence from Britain in 1962.
We've come to the close of Jamaica Magazine for today. Thanks for watching. Join us again tomorrow when we'll do this all over again. Until then, you can click online at jis.gov.jm and visit our YouTube channel to get the latest government information. Also, follow us on Twitter and Facebook and download our app from the Google and Apple stores to stay informed. On behalf of all of us here at the JIS, I'm Theodore Henry. Till next time, take care.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.